Frank Wilson met with reporters on via Zoom on Tuesday for the Texas Bowl press conference. As the team will begin work for Houston, they have a team meeting here on Tuesday. They'll hit the practice field on Thursday. And amid all of this, Frank Wilson's future is very much up in the air. Frank was asked for clarity on his future and whether or not he expects to be back as a part of Lane Kiffin's staff.
No, we've had conversations, and for me and for Coach Kiff, it's let's play this game on the 27th, and we'll go into those details later. We just want to finish what we've started with this football team, with the team of 2025, give them our undivided attention before transition happens. And so until then, nothing will necessarily happen in that regard. You know, there'll be opportunity there. Where that lies, I'm not sure, but the priority is our current football team.
I want you to contrast the reaction with Frank Wilson and Blake Baker. LSU went to the end of the earth to try to retain Blake Baker. They're going to pay him $3 million a year. Lane Kiffin is on Friday night tweeting about staying in Baton Rouge for meetings to make sure Blake Baker stayed. You're retaining that staff. I mean, it was a complete and total priority to retain Blake Baker. And I'm not saying it shouldn't have been, by the way. I mean, he's taking your defense from statistically the worst defense that you had in 2023 to 25th in total defense, 15th in scoring defense in 2 years. Yes, that should have been a priority. But when you contrast how they approached retaining Baker and where things are with Frank and how he answered that question right there, so non-committal, it kind of tells you the answer without telling you the answer. Every time we talk about this, and I have a feeling it's going to come up again before LSU plays the bowl game and we know what the finality is, I just want to be on the record, just abundantly clear. I want Frank Wilson on LSU staff. I want Frank Wilson to be LSU's running backs coach and recruiting coordinator. I think that's what's best for LSU. Now, Lane Kiffin ain't going to ask my opinion. That's okay. It's his prerogative. He's the head coach. He can hire who he wants. And it is very clear that if Lane Kiffin was prioritizing having Frank Wilson on staff in that role, it would already be done. He's there. He's in the building. He's coaching the team. He's the recruiting coordinator. If you wanted him, hire him. He's there. Just say you're retained. The fact that that hasn't happened tells you the story. And it's the thing we've talked about a bit here already, which is Lane Kiffin's running back coach is Kevin Smith, who played at UCF, played in the NFL with the Lions, joined Kiffin's staff at FAU, was with him for 3 years there, 6 years in Oxford. They've been together for 9 years. When Lane Kiffin was introduced last Monday, Knox was in the front row. The kid sitting next to Knox was Kevin Smith's son. Their families are very close. That's his running backs coach. He wants him on staff. And he's holding a spot for him. It's very obvious. And it's his prerogative. And he can do that. I hope, I'll say it again, that this isn't a lesson that Lane Kiffin has to learn the hard way. Because you have got to have deeply rooted connections on the staff in New Orleans. And there is nobody better than Frank Wilson. The New Orleans area high school coaches are a fraternity that are close-knit, and we've seen that over the years. When Frank left, Les hired Jabbar Jalouk. Ed got the job in 2017. He fired Jabbar. It was a big dust-up among the New Orleans area coaches when Jabbar Jalouk was fired after 1 year. It took some mending of fences there. There are those that are going to argue, and you're right, that LSU won a national championship in 2003, in 2007, and 2019 without Frank Wilson on staff. That's true. He was on staff in 2011 when they played for a national title. Should have won it. And he has been responsible for recruiting some of the best players in the history of this program to LSU. But they've won without him. And I have no doubt that LSU can and will win if Frank Wilson's not on staff. I'm not saying this is a binary thing. If he's here, you'll win. If he's not, you won't. I'm not suggesting that at all. What I am saying is there is a direct correlation to the most successful teams in the history of this program having a direct pipeline to New Orleans, and how essential it is to recruit the state, in particular that city. I mean, my goodness, Edna Carr had 15 Division I signees on this team. Like, say that slowly and think out loud. Like, Edna Carr had 15 Division I signees on this team. You got to recruit New Orleans. And there's nobody better to do that than Frank. So, look, if he's not retained, they'll have to figure it out. I know I've spelled this out for you again, but for those who are saying, why can't he coach special teams or give him the run game coordinator title or something along those lines, it's not about creating a title. Remember, staffs are limited to 10 full-time assistants. And those 10 full-time assistants are the only ones that can go recruit off campus. Analysts can coach on the field now. So it's not about that. It's about being one of the 10 full-time assistants that are paid like full-time assistants and can recruit off campus, which of course you want Frank to be able to do. And you've got your 5 defensive assistants already, and you've got 4 offensive assistants already. So you have 1 spot left on your offensive staff. And it's very clear Lane Kiffin's holding that for Kevin Smith if he comes after Ole Miss's playoff run. If he doesn't and he stays in Oxford, which I'm hoping is what happens. I hope Kevin Smith stays in Oxford. I don't know that I believe that's going to happen. If you made me bet, I'd bet he comes. I don't have any information. I'm not breaking news. I don't know. I'm looking at circumstantial evidence, which is pretty clear to me and probably to a lot of us here at this point. And you can listen to Frank Wilson and the uncertainty today. It kind of tells you the story. Because if you wanted to hire him, he'd already be hired. So I hope Kevin Smith stays in Oxford and Lane retains Frank Wilson. I don't necessarily believe that's how this is going to go, but we'll find out in time. But if that is what happens, if the Texas Bowl is the last game that Frank Wilson coaches at LSU, and then Kevin Smith comes in to be LSU's running backs coach, then Lane Kiffin's going to have work to do to make sure he solidifies the relationships in New Orleans with someone or multiple people on staff in whatever variety of roles to make sure those relationships remain firm. Because, well, it doesn't have to be Frank Wilson. You have to put a fence around New Orleans and make sure the best players in that city end up in Baton Rouge. So making sure that connection is solid is one of the most important things Lane Kiffin will do in recruiting and building staff and roster at LSU. So I hope it's Frank Wilson, but if it's not, Lane Kiffin's going to have a big decision to make with how he makes sure that pipeline remains flowing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.